I'm Marat from EMMOTION, HR professional and career coach, and I'd like to guide you through job interview questions in easiest and most enjoyable way. It's time to discuss the question which nearly everyone dislikes, yet it is still being asked constantly in many job interviews. What are your greatest weaknesses? I personally prefer rephrasing it to what are your development areas? It can also be asked in other similar ways. What would your manager or colleagues describe as your biggest weakness? Which tasks or duties do you struggle with the most? Which difficulties and issues have arisen in your current role? Is there any of your skill set that you feel still needs work? From my experience as a recruiter, I tend to ask this question to candidates which make a big and noticeable effort in selling themselves during the interview, sometimes without realizing it. For many hiring managers, it is interesting to hear candidates analyzing their development areas, to hear how reflective they are about their skill set. This question can trip a lot of people up, because no one wants to talk about the less impressive part of their skills or personality. However, never say you don't have any development areas. I've had candidates saying this to me during interviews, and the impact is exactly the same as saying that you don't have any ability to learn and to grow. Important checklist before we proceed to full examples. Analyze your development areas. It should be a weakness related to your professional competencies and skills. Answers like, I don't do enough exercise, or I don't speak a certain language well, sound like you are trying to avoid the question. Don't try to disguise a strength as a weakness. I work too hard, or I am a perfectionist. These are ridiculous because as a recruiter you hear them every day. The hiring manager will see you through and might label you as someone dishonest. Be honest, but don't raise any red flags. Giving an honest answer is important. If you make something up, you might not be able to handle the follow-up questions. Pick a weakness acceptable for the role. Don't say you are awful with numbers if you are applying for an accounting job, for example. Explain the measures you took to correct this skill. The first part of your answer should reflect that you detected this weakness. The second part is how you have actively been working on it. The weakness needs to be something that you can improve through a personal effort. Here are a few examples, some of which can be easily adapted to your profile. Example for a position dealing with numbers and data. I never had much experience working directly with clients. That's why my client-facing communication skills definitely need some work. I'm much more comfortable digging into the data and providing the analysis rather than talking about it with a client. I realized that the experience of working with clients directly would be a big help to the way that I present my analysis, so I used every chance to take an opportunity and talk to a client, and I will continue to improve this area of expertise. Example which is more generic. At the beginning of my career, I was overwhelmed with the level and amount of work expected from me. Projects came all at the same time, and I didn't schedule and plan each of the stages properly. Eventually, this made me overlook certain mistakes, which I detected further on. Since then, I attended a number of time management seminars, and I have found my workload much more manageable. Each time I'm more productive and detailed, and I continue to work on it. Example which could be a case for many. Public speaking is an area which I should still work on. When I started college, it was a real problem. I was just terrified of doing it, and I ended up ruining my speeches a few times. I decided to take a small step of promising myself that I would speak up in front of small groups, for example in a class. Then I worked up to taking a public speaking class, which made a big difference. Now, even though I get nervous, I feel like it is something that doesn't hold me back. Recently, I gave a speech at a conference. I was still shaking during my speech, but it went great, and I received a really good feedback in the end. I plan on continue to seek out opportunities to improve in this area. Example on being too direct. Sometimes I can be a little too honest when I provide feedback to coworkers. My personality is naturally straightforward, and my colleagues really value that. However, I learned that there are times on the job when more diplomacy is required. I took a training class on how to communicate with power, and it really opened my eyes to the need of communicating differently with different people. So now I am much better at providing constructive and inspiring feedback, even though it doesn't always come naturally. Keep it short and to the point. Practice a couple of times to make a stronger impact and to answer with confidence. Thanks for watching. For more information on professional and personal growth, subscribe to my channel.